When it comes to discussing the realities of parenting, you can expect some sensitive material and occasional profanity.
Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Anonymous Mom, a podcast where two childhood friends reconnect to discuss mom life, adulting, and everything in between.
And this week we are talking about mommunes.
And what is a mommune? Please describe what a mommune is for me.
Okay, so technically it would be the combination of mom and communes. So the idea of co-living arrangements for single moms.
Okay. I mean, after we know what this was, like I said, when you had sent it, I was like, no, I've seen that.
Everything is good in theory.
Right.
But I'd just like to point out that most communes turn into cults, and most cults
turn into people drinking Kool-Aid and dying.
Yes. So let's just keep that in mind, okay?
Let's just make it a really cool house with a bunch of single moms with their kids all helping each other out and hanging out. And
that's cool, but let's get to the definition of a commune first. It's a group of people living together and sharing possessions and responsibilities, which the sharing possessions might be a little hard for me.
Yeah. But possessions could be like plates and glasses.
Oh, absolutely. I think I would. This is the thing, and this is what they point out too, and we'll get more into it, is you have to find a community of moms that you vibe with and you have the same parenting style.
I mean, I go back and forth because if you only surround yourself with people who are like you don't learn anything.
True, but you can surround yourself in social environments, not who you're living with, and still learn something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I guess so I've never lived with anybody other than my husband. When I lived on my own, I did not want roommates. I love being alone. I don't want people around me. Like, I don't like living with people.
Again, you have to be somebody who understands these sharing responsibilities.
Right.
Because the roommates that I have had, I've had great roommates, but the only ones that work well are the ones who understand that aspect. Because when you have other people who weren't brought up having to do dishes or having to do laundry, they just kind of assume that somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
And then if you try putting it on a list and somebody doesn't want to do it, well, then, you just end up doing it. It's like having a class project.
Oh, God, yeah.
In school, when you have a class project, raise your hand. I bet you were the one who did.
Yep, I was the one that didn't cheerlead them on, but I was not good in school. I would not have been good. You wouldn't want me to lead the project.
Everybody has their strengths, okay? There was something you could have done. I really wish I had a memory because I'm sure there's some class project we had together where
I tapped out.
But yeah, it's like that, where there's always somebody who pulls the bulk of the weight if everybody's not on the same page.
Right.
So I love this in theory. As a single mom, it would be amazing having like two other moms that you could have a really nice place because it's the same idea of.
I think it'd be like reminding me of like having an apartment and you all have a common area, like dorms.
Yeah, that would be more like a commune. Yeah, exactly. Or a house. Everybody has their own bedroom and then the kitchen is shared. Yeah, I think that's what the big thing is that's what they're doing is you all have your rooms, but then you have the communal space.
Right.
It's kind of like that bed and breakfast that just opened up in town where everybody has their own rooms, but then there's that communal space.
Yeah. This would not be for me. It would not be for me at all. I'd rather live by myself with my kids and maybe have like every other weekend people come over and hang out.
Well, there's a BBC article, which I'll have linked, but there's a website that they created called Co-Abode, and it connects single mothers looking for shared accommodations.
Mm.
The funny thing is the other article that we saw on social media that got me into this is because it was those two friends who got an apartment together. I'm like, that's not a commune. I'm sorry, but that's just a roommate. You want to have a nice term for having a roommate, but that's not a commune. But I love the idea of, okay, if you are with somebody and you have, the same schedule, or because that's the other thing too, because it's the shared responsibilities of kids. you have to have that shared, okay, like you have the kids on Monday night and I have the kids on Tuesday night or something like that. And everybody has their own day off. But getting people to be on the same page isn't always that easy.
Yeah.
You know,
like I said, this would not be for me.
For me, like I said, it would have to be somebody who matches harmoniously with my way of life. Yeah. But at the same time, too, it's like, I know we've talked about this and I'm not really a fan of kids. Like, I love my child.
Right.
And obviously I do everything for her and my life revolves around hers. But when it comes to the idea of having to care for another person's child, that's not my jam.
No, same.
But for me, it's like, I love the idea of being able to have a really nice place because you have two incomes. When you are a single parent, you have your income, right? You know, and when you have a roommate, that rent is split in half or that mortgage is split in half. The other issue I have with this is, so yes, you're single now, but what happens if
find someone and yes. Yeah. Okay. So I did not even actually think about that till you said that. Because then, that's like you have to break up with.
Well, and then your kids are already attached to be like their siblings.
Yeah. You pretty much have to be on the same page that you're not going to find anybody like this is your person and you're okay with being single for the rest of your life.
Or if you are with somebody, that person has to move into where you are because
with all these extra people.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you have, especially younger kids, if you have these kids and they've established that this is basically their sibling.
Right.
And then you split them apart, that's not fair to the kid.
Right.
So it can't be a temporary, which it kind of seems like, because a lot of these stories that it looks like it's, moms where they didn't have anywhere to go and then they found, people
right.
who
And I think
them.
That's a great temporary situation if you full well know it's not going to be a permanent situation.
Yes.
Yeah. Like if you're doing this as I need help, But
that's where the commune part is a problem because you share all that. Right. So it's not just a roommate where you're doing your own thing.
Right. And
they just wanted the cool name.
It's just name. Yeah. It just, they should not have named it that. But okay. Instead of let's try and find some positives because I feel like we're like hovering over. Yeah. Mom mates. Yeah.
Yeah. Mom mates makes way more sense than a mommune because mom mates, you at least know, unless you like just aren't somebody who, if you're like asexual and you like never want to be with somebody, that's where it could work. But like, I just feel most of these people are probably going to get in a relationship at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Go on. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, let's try and find the positives because I feel like I'm kind of like the negative. We're like focusing on the negatives. Let's try and join
a cult, drink some Kool-Aid.
I was going to say, I feel like let's try and find the
Haley's
comments. Yeah. The positive in it is you have help.
Yes.
And you have other people around for mental support, which I think is huge.
Yes.
Because that's not just like having help in general, but like mental help. Like I think if you're by yourself when something's going on and you need someone, having someone there to just even be there with you.
I'm going to be the negative Nasty though, but then somebody becomes the person who's the help. If it's not shared and somebody's just dumping
someone's always
time.
The fixer. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's like,
yeah. Okay, let's reel it back in.
So do you see what situation I usually get stuck in? I'm the one who does all the fucking class projects. What people comes to about their problems.
God. Well, okay, I'm going back to the positives.
Yes, please. Reel me in.
Reel you in. And okay, so what can you find a positive?
I already said. I just said I think it should be mom mates. I don't think it should be a mommune. Children and attachment, those relationships. Like there's a reason why with like people who go through divorce or separation, establishing a new boyfriend or girlfriend, the time you're supposed to wait before you even introduce somebody to a child. Like those attachments make a huge impact. And I don't think that we really talk about that much, but there's a reason why there's these certain points in time where you do that. And then when you do introduce them, it's important that like this is an established solid relationship. So yeah, those kind of things. So if you have these two kids that are living together and they're like, this is our life. And then it's like, oh, I just met a lot of people go over here and we're going to move over here. Those are big adjustments. So like that, it has to, my thing is, it's just not saying that that's not going to happen or it shouldn't happen. but that people who get into these situations think about that. So perhaps the whole communal part of it shouldn't be promoted as much as just the coexisting. Yeah. I think coexisting and having a mom mate, then maybe I need to just start a new app called Mom Mates. That makes more sense to me. And it's still going to be hard if you do move out and you find somebody, but that should be gradual too, where if you are with somebody, then you start spending the night like once a week at this new person's house. And it's a gradual change that I just want people to think about the kids in this situation and not just them being like, cool, I have somebody that can help me take care of my responsibilities and I can have a better place. And, all those things are lovely. And that's a great thing, but to also just make sure we consider the children in the situation.
Right.
I'm not trying to be negative.
I mean, so I'm thinking it's going to be fun because you can always have someone there for you if necessary. I think it goes back and I think it depends on who you are as a person too, because
but that's why I said, yeah,
I would just never, I love having a friend over to have a glass of wine, but I don't want you around all the time. You know what I mean? I think it's just one of those things where it's I love the idea of it for when it's needed, but I'm not needy
almost
that.
Like a
that
hostel.
I feel
So this is interesting too. It says there are currently 15 million single mothers in the US, according to a 2018 paper. And the prevalence of single mother families has more than doubled since the 1960s, rising from approximately 12% in the 1960s to 21% now. Several factors: the decreased social stigma of divorce, higher number of mothers leaving unhealthy relationships, and more workplace opportunities that enable mothers to have the financial stability to be a single mom. But now with the cost of living, it's getting too expensive for single moms to live on their own. And which is why this cohabiting could be something for the future.
I even think it might be cool to have a condo / apartment thing that's just for single moms that
I love the condo idea.
Yep. Yeah, that have someone there that understands what it's like to be a single mom and have that. But when you can connect with people who are going through something that you're going through, it can be really, really helpful. That might help boost your confidence and boost your self-esteem to get out there and meet someone that would be a great match for you down that. Not that you can't be single, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. I plan on being single and I'm fine with that. I think it's the idea that it's set up where you feel like you have to be with somebody else to afford the nice place. You have to be with somebody else to have these things. And especially with younger kids, because of how fucking expensive daycare and preschool is. You can't have an average middle of the road income and have that life.
Right.
And so that's where it's not fair, but I love the idea of having a nice condo and, there's a shared community area or whatever. And actually when I do buy, I plan on buying a condo, and that's just because I don't want to take care of anything. I'm that person where I'd rather pay an HOA fee and have somebody mow my lawn because it's not my thing. And I'm okay with that. I don't have any issue with this idea of the communal living. It's just the idea of, okay, is this what you want? And this is how you want to live.
Right. Because, so, I mean, if you know that you're always going to be single and you find another mom that knows they're always, so that may be a good, I think it has to be yes. There should be a application that gets filled out and each person gets set with each person.
But that's what I mean. I think that's what these websites do is it's remember when we said to have the dating app where it's
the moms,
which there is one, I think it's called Peanut. A listener sent it to us. I think it was called Peanut. But I think that's what it does is it matches you with people. You go through, okay, are you spiritual? Are you religious? What is your parenting style? Because let's be real, a mom who believes in discipline and structure and might, have a very rigid structure isn't going to vibe with somebody who's a go with the flow parenting. And let's be real, it's not fair to the kid either. The most important thing for a child is routine. So if your routine is go with the flow, that's not going to vibe with a mom whose routine is very 7:00 we eat. This is when we do this. That's not going to vibe for your kids. And it's so important for your kids to have the same routine throughout that developmental time in their life. So like that is why it's so important. Like you'd have to be on the same page with
Right.
how you're going to parent if you're gonna
But
like
let's be for real.
it.
I think also too that goes along with marriage. Like there's a lot of like
absolutely,
like we have very different parenting ways, but we mesh them together to make it work.
Yes.
He parents different than I parent, but we mesh them and have our family's parenting style, which is different than everybody else's parenting. You know what I mean? So
but
like
it's yours together, and you're not taking away from each other.
Right.
And I'm assuming too, like he knows like breakfast is at a certain time and like they have dinner at a certain time. I'm sure bedtime is pretty much around the same time.
Right.
Yeah. It's just saying like that there's certain things, they can't be polar opposites and not blended. It like you said, blending it. That's what matters.
Yes.
But if you have two people who are like, this is how I parent, and you refuse to budge, you're not going to be able to live in a mommune, if you will.
Yeah. I think there's a need for something like this because I think that it is something, but I think it has to be very structured. It does have to be very like type A to get involved. And then you can be whatever you want once you're in and you're with who you're set with. But I think the structure of it has to be very clear cut as to what you're getting yourself into.
I think of like, okay, my income. And then if what I was putting into rent, somebody else was putting into rent, the place I could have would be fucking amazing. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that there are websites, I think is cool, but you know, it's the same like Craigslist exists for a reason. So it's like the mom's Craigslist. It's mom's list.
Mom's list.
Mom's list for your mom mates. But I didn't actually take time to look into it. I definitely do want to look into it. Oh, and another thing too. So one of the people who is part of this said that, quote, I don't have a lot of family, so I wanted a village for my son. I want to share some of the responsibility, but also the joy. So that's something too. I mean, if you don't have family, this is a way to like have your own little family. And a researcher studied the way that single motherhood affects children. And his research also suggests that low socioeconomic status negatively impacts parenting and the mental health of both the mother and child. And so it does make sense to like, by combining your incomes, it is less stressful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, yeah, that stuff is always weighing on you because you want to be able to, you know, have them in the preschool. You want to have them in the sports or the dance or whatever music lessons. But if you can't afford it, it just makes you feel bad. And then you internalize that. And then that kid internalizes it. It's giving moms an opportunity to have the things that every mom and child deserves.
Right.
Doesn't seem feasible to a lot of people. You know,
and so this, yes, I mean, that can be with husband and wife or married situations too. I mean,
I'm
not
just
being
saying,
able
though,
to
but,
afford it.
But you still have double the income. When you're single, you only have one income.
Right.
You know
but
what I mean?
I'm just saying, like, those two incomes might not be able to afford.
Oh, God, no.
You know what I mean? Like, that's, I'm just income wise, it could be whether it's two incomes or not. Things are expensive.
Yes, they are. That added stress of like, I can't do this and I want to do it. That's where that anger comes from, is it's people wanting to do what's best and they're told they can't. So that's where I love this idea of giving people that opportunity. But the big cornerstone of all of this is the actual shared responsibility. And so that's where it can be really liberating and empowering for women if they are seeing it at that, you know, like, yeah, this is your obligation. This is my obligation. And hi, spoiler alert, it's the same for any relationship.
Right.
However, mothers tend to be the ones who are rearing the children.
Right.
And so they do have that respect because they do know what's needed versus somebody who just doesn't feel it's their role,
right,
you know, to do that. So it's like, I can see that like when you put all of those minds together and you all know that, and that you're not selfish, and you want to
grow,
have everybody balance. And yeah. But like we said, like, I think the most important thing is that you have to be on the same page of not only the responsibilities, but this is your child, you're nurturing your child's development. And to keep that in mind, if for some reason you do meet somebody and you decide that. But, well, that is all the time we have for this week's episode. If you are part of a mommune or have a mom mate, please comment on. I'd love to know. Like I said, I'm going to go on this website because I'm just very curious. In theory, I do think it's amazing. Like all that extra space, having somebody where it's Tuesdays is my night to do whatever I want, Wednesday their night to do whatever they want. Because let's be real, I mean, our society is structured to make you want to be in a relationship with somebody. some people just don't necessarily want to be with somebody else. And that's okay.
Right.
You know, be curious to see anybody else. I might have to go on TikTok and hashtag Mommune to see.
You should.
But I like mom mates better. So let's stick with that. Mommune means that you're going to end up drinking some Kool-Aid, and that's just very unfortunate. So,
and we don't want that. We don't want that.
We don't want that. But anyways, that is all the time we have, and we will talk to you all next week.
Peace out. Thanks for tuning in to Anonymous Mom. Have a question you want answered or a topic you'd love for us to discuss?
Email us at anonymousmompod@gmail.com. Or if you want to remain anonymous, join our Facebook group, Anonymous Mom, where you can post your topic or question anonymously.
Thanks for listening.